Muy buenos días a cada una de ustedes. Nos da mucha alegría volvernos a encontrar. Ya es nuestro tercer encuentro virtual. Buenos días, buenas
Good
tardes.
morning to you all. Good afternoon. Good night. Maybe for a few of you, it's a tired time because it's just the afternoon and the night. But I ask you to be happy, energetic, and that we are present in this meeting. We don't always have the ability to be that present when behind the camera, but I think with this fourth session with me, it's not going to be the exception. I know you have all your heart or your disposition and that you're here. So welcome. How are you? If we have any issues with health, sometimes health issues are just opportunities to realize that the body is speaking to us, the emotional, spiritual body and mind body. And sometimes we don't realize. So when we feel an ache, if something hurts, you're still alive, like a grandmother used to say, because your body is telling you something's happening. So we're going to start with our invocation. I had asked somebody from Asia, if any sister from Asia that could do this invocation, and if maybe one of you prepared, please raise your hands. If not, I will start.
¿Alguna se preparó de Asia para acompañar la invocación?
Anybody of Asia prepared to start the invocation today? Okay, I guess not. So we're going to start all of us together. The next time, starting today, we're going to, from next Tuesday, we still have a session. So we're going to ask you for all of us to have an element of our culture, of our people close to us when we start the session. And we're all going to have the opportunity to have a candle of some sort so that we can do a collective invocation with these elements. For today, we're going to start reading the 4 points, the 4 points of the earth.
Saludando al corazón.
Reading the heart of the 4 pillars from our cosmovisions. The heart of the sunrise. We're going to bow our heads thanking for the sunrise of today. We're going to thank because in the middle of crisis, maybe difficulties, personal or family difficulties, as peoples or as countries or as worlds, as the earth, regardless of the crisis, there's always a light. When it gets darkest right before the dawn. So we're going to thank for that dawn, for that sunrise today. We're going to thank for the sunset, for all the times, diseases, exhaustion, worry, that maybe make us sad sometimes, but that are also necessary for growth. We're going to thank for the energies of the heart, of the wind, of the great mountains and the great hills, that today, for example, in our country, Guatemala, and probably in America, Asia, and Africa, because of global warming, there are strong fires. And with those forest fires, species are burning of different animals, species of different animals, plants, and roots are burning. We ask for forgiveness to those sacred places, to those trees that have been feeling pain because of the fire that is difficult to turn to extinguish, to those jaguars, to those birds, to those squirrels, to the bunnies, to the deer, to all the species that are alive, that are dying with those forest fires, that are leaving us with those forest fires, so that their transcendence can walk, and so that their species that were able to save themselves could continue to multiply. We ask forgiveness 1, 2, 3, or 4 times, and we thank and we commit ourselves to take care of those mountains, those hills, and those sacred spaces that we still have. We greet the heart of the water, the oceans that have been contaminated, to the rivers that have been contaminated, to the lakes, to the sources of water that are drying up in the name of that progress and development, in the name of consumerism, in the name of a disorder where we forget that Mother Nature and water also have feelings and they also have a heart. We ask for forgiveness and we ask consciousness for those great companies, those big companies, for that economic power of the world, so that they stop thinking only amassing riches, but that they can think that water is alive, that water, earth, mountains, the animals are alive, that we cannot continue as human beings destroying this common home that we have, our Mother Earth. We greet also the heart of the sky, the planets, the stars, the sun, the moon, so that with their light and their clarity, they can accompany our steps and they can bring us happiness and contentment and wisdom. And to the sacred Mother Earth, we also ask her forgiveness because of the lack of balance, the damage, the contamination, for the irrational use and abuse that we have made of her. We ask for forgiveness. And we also ask for the consciousness of the government of the world, of those who make decisions in the world, so they can become conscious that we're only a part of this network of life, that we are not the owners of this system of life, that in the measure that we destroy it, we destroy ourselves and our generations. And also, we're going to hug ourselves, asking ourselves for forgiveness, because I'm sure there's a lack of balance at some point, emotional, spiritual, physical, energetic. And each one of us looks for a piece of your body or a place in your body where you feel a lack of balance, where you feel that there's a lack of balance, of pain. There's pain, and we're going to talk to that pain, to that part of our body. Thank you for being alive. Thank you, this part of my body, for being alive. Thank you for the aches and pains that we have felt, that have made us say, you're alive, Lorena. You're alive, Nukila. You're alive, Alina, Javier, Liz, Daisy, Vivian, Angela, Jessie, Dunen, Nadia, Dom, Fatima, me, Samai, Esther. You're alive. We're all alive. We ask forgiveness to our first territory, which is our body.
Físico.
The territory, body, physical body, spiritual body, emotional
y cuerpo energético, por todo el desequilibrio.
body.
Me comprometo a cuidarte, amar.
And today,
así como me comprometo a hacer un uso adecuado del agua, a cuidar las semillas que tengo,
love you and respect you,
el territorio donde estoy, a comunicarme y observar el cosmos,
and to do the right use of water, take care of the seeds that I have, take care of the land, communicate and observe. Thank you. Take care of the planets, of the stars, the sun, and the sky that are our teachers. I commit to take care of the animals that I have close, the family. I commit to take care of myself. We hug ourselves 1, 2, 3, and 4 times, and we give thanks for life, remembering that we are part of the network of life. We are not the center of this life, of this network. We're just a part of it. And so we are going to ask that this candle, this water that we have will accompany us. I'm going to ask you at some point if you...
para lograr equilibrio y pedirles con todo mi corazón que estemos aquí, que estemos presentes y que estemos ahora. Ese es un ejercicio que vamos a hacer siempre. ¿Qué quiere decir? Puedo que si yo estoy aquí sentada, pero solo mi cuerpo, mi cabeza está en otra cosa, mis preocupaciones en otra, hay ruido, voy en un vehículo, yo no voy a poder poner atención y me voy a desequilibrar y me estoy haciendo daño. Entonces vamos a decir, estoy
My
presente.
head is somewhere else. There's noise. I hear myself. I can't hear I'm not present. Am I here? Am I present? Am I here? Am I now? I'm present and I am now here. Let's repeat. We're going to say I'm present, I'm here, and I am now. To my stomach, I'm present, I'm here, and I'm now. To our ovaries, I'm here, I'm present, and I am now. To our uterus, I am here, I am
Here,
present,
I
and I am
am
now.
present, I am now.
I am here, I am present, and I am now.
I am present, I am now.
To our legs, I am here, I am present, and I am now. We go up, I am present, I am here, and I am now. I am here, I am present, and I am now. I am here, I am present, and I am now.
I
We
am
shake,
here
I am present.
and at the end of the day, we carry some things. We have them on our shoulders, so we let them go at the beginning of the day. No, we have to let it go. We shake it out, and we let it go, and we see that we make it seem like we're letting go of any load. We open our arms. I'm here, I am present, and I am now. So with a lot of happiness, we start our session today with good energy. For those of you who are late in the day, I ask you to live this session there's a dialogue of knowledge. And in the last exercises, we've heard really important opinions of every region, and which is why today's session is very important. I'm going to leave Nadia, who has very important information for us, because we have to remember that this intercultural research process is not just another course, it is a shared responsibility of us that we are daring to bring to the table ideas, and for you that have committed to join this process. So I'm going to leave Nadia and welcome to everything. Hi, Lorena. Thank you. Good afternoon. Good morning. Good night. Thank you, Lore, for that space of harmonization, spiritual harmonization.
Que esa luz nos acompañe en esta y
With
la
that
siguiente.
light, we hope that this light will accompany us in this and the following sessions. As Lorena was saying, with the idea of continuing to build this process that we take on together, that we took on together a little bit over a month, I would like to share some information of the process that are coming in, that are going to follow, but also ask for your consciousness. And remember those commitments that we have acquired when we started. I would like to thank you, of course, to the sisters that are 100% committed. As Lorena was saying, we're here, we're present, we're here, we're now. And a time that you have dedicated in general up to date to attend these sessions. However, sisters, we are seeing a little bit of a lack of compliance with the...
Este es nuestro segundo módulo y todos los módulos están interconectados y tienen una lógica de desarrollo, una lógica.
And all the different modules are interconnected, and they have a logic of development. So you need to comply with these homework. They have a logic in their order, why we have one first, one is second, and one third, for example. We understand the difficulties that come up in life, especially for women who are in a bunch of things. We're taking care of our home, taking care of our family, of the children, the work.
De seguir formándonos, de seguir generando y compartiendo conocimiento. Por eso mismo, en este proceso, FIMI ha creado otras herramientas alternativas para que si ustedes en algún momento no pueden atender la clase por razones de fuerza mayor, ustedes puedan acceder a estas otras herramientas como el Moodle. Estamos en el WhatsApp, las tutoras han compartido sus correos, sus números de teléfono, para que podamos ponernos al día con la tarea. Como les digo, todo tiene una lógica, una secuencia. Es importante, hermanas, que cumplan con las tareas, porque las tareas van a responder a su estudio de caso, ¿verdad? Ahorita, por ejemplo, Lorena va a hacer una pausa, Lorena, en sus sesiones, y va a entrar el módulo sobre técnicas de redacción. ¿Por qué lo hemos organizado así? Porque vamos a empezar a escribir nuestros estudios.
Sir, we cannot hear English.
Alina, ¿no hay interpretación? Hola.
Sí, pero hola, la había perdido. Puse en el chat que había perdido su señal. Perdón. Dígame.
¿Me escuchas? ¿Sí? Ok. Continúa entonces. Entonces, hermanas.
So, sisters, it's important that we respond to the tasks that the homework that the tutors have, because each homework is going to respond to a study of cases. If we don't have the homework, we are not going to be able to comply with the times in terms of the final product. The tutors, for the tutors, it's going to be very difficult to try to get up to date at last minute. We received over 100 applications for this process, and it was difficult to select everyone because unfortunately in everything we have a limit. And for this process, we only had 14 spots. And you were the ones selected.
Hicimos un proceso de entrevista.
You know that we did an interview process where we established this challenge of making sure that we were dedicating the time, even with your work, because you also have to not just attend the sessions, but also do your homework. So let's not lose that space that maybe take advantage of a space that maybe another sister could have also taken advantage of. We are thinking that the region of Africa is going to be the one that's going to give us the welcome for the in-person session. And in this session, you are going to present your case studies. The idea is that FIMI is going to invite, in coordination with an organization that's our partner, I'm going to tell us what city and what country we're going to be in. And what we're seeing is which partner organization is going to accompany us. And the idea is that we can invite different personalities so they can hear you and your presentation in your case studies. So as you can understand, we have to take a material that is as fine-tuned as possible. And maybe
acompañándolas y tutoreándolas en este proceso.
That are going to be there with us. So with the idea that we can finish and present something that is good, that is honorable, and that represents this process. So please, sisters, it's important, like in every process of subvention, whether it's in the modality of project or research or class, there's a responsibility that comes with it. And that first draft, as I told you, in this module with Lorena and in the module that we're going to see with Carolina about the techniques of draft, nosotros can build our first draft of our studies. And with that base, we're going to start the administrative process for the transfer of the scholarship. Again, it's important. This has to be supported because FIMI responds to the donors. So we can't have a scholarship when we don't have a backup, a support that says that we're already working on this. So this is a chain of commitments and a chain of events. So that's why I wanted to take this time, and I'm sorry, Lorena, that I already passed on the 5 minutes, passed off the 5 minutes. So, but I want to take this time to remind you that there's a responsibility, there's a commitment that we take on as FIMI, but also as you during this process. This process of generating knowledge and only participating effectively, being aware we're going to be able to do that, generate and share knowledge. And that space is built out of that commitment, out of you sharing your time and your knowledge. And what the teachers with a lot of dedication and time have been preparing. There's been months that Lorena, Sara have been working and preparing the materials that we're going to share. So please, let's use the tools that we have at our disposal and let's comply with our tasks and our homeworks. Minerva, Dunen, we're in the group. If you have any difficulties or any questions, you can seek us out. In the Moodle, you find everything, the homework, the recording, the PowerPoints that the tutors are presenting. Really, you have all the tools. There's no excuse for not getting up to date or not following the course. So for now, just saying that, we're going to provide the information. There are certain forms that we must fill with your data.
La transferencia de fondos para la beca, porque, o sea, ciertamente si ustedes ya empiezan a hacer el trabajo, pues ya necesitarán los recursos para sus grupos focales, reuniones, y por eso es importante que ya vayan definiendo esto, porque los procedimientos administrativos siempre toman tiempo. Entonces, se sentirá que vamos corriendo, pero así es el tiempo, vamos contra el tiempo y cuando nos demos cuenta ya vamos a estar a las puertas del encuentro presencial.
English translation.
Tenemos problemas con la interpretación o no sé si es mi red, pero vamos a tratar de hacer un resumen para compartir toda esta información otra vez por correo, por WhatsApp. Gracias, Lore. Eso era un poco lo que quería compartir con ustedes, hermana. Gracias.
Gracias, Nadia. No sé si ya se corrigió lo de la interpretación.
Alina o Franco, ¿están por allí? ¿Hay problemas?
Alina tiene problemas de conexión. No sé si nos puede ayudar, Franco.
¿Estás entonces ya? ¿Seguimos?
Muy bien.
Bueno,
muy bien.
Gracias.
Muy bien, muchas gracias. Muy breve.
Thank you.
En nuestros pueblos existe un compromiso más allá de un documento.
There is a commitment from our towns.
El principio de nuestros pueblos es la palabra. Yo recuerdo las entrevistas con
I remember when we started, it was over 100 from a first selection process and a deep reading of the information that Dune and Nadia made. And a second phase to participate in the second part, and then the third process. When we plant our corn in our towns, we don't take the whole, we take a pound of corn, and then we select the seeds. We selected in our town with very carefully the seeds that we were going to use. And we're convinced that these were the people who were going to contribute and we're going to grow together. And we're going to leave a fruit for a generation to come. So if we made the selection, like when we select our corn, and we have our seeds here, we pick the best ones. So, okay, we get down to 40. And from 40, we narrowed down to 20. And from 20, we got to 14. 12, I'm sorry. And then there was a debate which following certain criteria. So we were very thought of criteria, feeling that there was a commitment there. what you were proposing and that whatever what you were mentioning had a purpose. So we selected the 12, and in the interview, remember that we told you that there were going to be homework and assignments prior to the sessions, which was another reason for this process, selection process, so the methodology. And why do we leave the homework? Because the time is so short that we do the group work in each session, but it wouldn't leave enough time because the topics are very broad. So the idea is for you to actually have some time to take your time, your free time. I know it's not easy. I know that you have to adjust to certain timelines. There's a gap in many things. Nonetheless, we asked, do you have access to internet? And you all said yes. So I'm here appealing to your word, to your hearts.
Si no hemos podido hacer las tareas hasta hoy, pues nos quedan, vienen las
We
tareas.
haven't been able to do the homework, haven't been able to do certain things, but you gotta find the commitment and do the follow-up, because there's no school homework. What we need to be doing in this process is just reviewing, reformulating our thoughts. So let's look at planting. Is it in light? In what approach are we looking at? What research and what approach are we looking into it? That we talked last week. What's our approach? And let's go from there. And we're going to do intercultural research, like Yala said a few days ago, as certain exercise. And now we're going to start doing another type of with Asia and Africa. We're going to start looking at what they're presenting as well. And in light of these presentations, that's how we see the research that we're going to be doing. This means that the assignments are not outside of the thought process. The idea is for you to just rebuilding and restructuring the proposal that you have and building it through the research. Writing it is just part of it, because that's how we're going to be adjusting with the criteria, with the approach, the tools that we're using to prepare it. And that's what we're saying. That you add to something, that this is a proposal that's going to add and have an impact. It's how I write, but what I write. It's not how I write it, but what I'm writing. And that's the source, that's the basis of what we have, the content, the epistemology that we're looking into it. Through our wisdom, through the sciences. This is how I'm writing it. And that's the challenge that we have. Using these tools, this model research that we're going to use, but with a content from our insights. We're not denying anything. And this is here. This is it's going to be just a paper. It's not going to be stuck in a library. It's not something that's going to be pasted by another people for research. These are new studies. This is the idea. You're stating your wisdom here, your feelings, your thinking, and your experience. So please remember that when we did the selection process, we did this with a lot of joy, and you gave us a word. You signed the document. That's part of the formality that we have. We're not going to put things out of there. Don't fail on this. You are the 12 selected, and it was just, you're the elected ones. You're the ones, anointed ones. They're gonna guide us within your research. It's gonna be an approximation of what we have, and strengthening your own work. With the once we have the finished works, you're gonna feel the pride in it. Now we're gonna give steps. Let's not forget this. You are the 12 best seats here. We selected them with a lot of advice. Yeah, we went through a whole process. So thank you very much for being here. And welcome once again. We're going to ask for Africa if they're prepared, or if Dunan wants to do something else. What are we going to be using? Africa, let us know so that if you're ready, we can start your presentation, please.
Quiero explicarles ahora que
But
vamos.
before we begin, can you see the sites?
Sí, muy bien. Vamos a explicar.
We're going to explain.
Vamos a hablar sobre el tema 2 de
We're going to start talking about the second one. There's a third module, which refers to intercultural research with political actions in women from original powers. So this is a political tool. That we have science, that we have knowledge, that we have a basis to state certain research. That's why it's a political action. It's a way of how to determine ourselves, of saying, I'm here. We're not improvising anything here. So what is the objective of this topic? It's to give feedback on the experience and knowledges of the indigenous women from Abiyajala, Africa, Asia. Why do we say feedback? Because we say that you already have a lot of knowledge, and that's why you were selected. You have done the effort of rebuilding that epistemology and state it and make a proposal. You dare to do this presentation. Represented the indigenous women as a starting point for the decolonization and reconstitution of the wisdom, science, and historical contribution and current towns of the indigenous powers. We want to let go of those statements.
Y decir, tenemos un planteamiento propio y caminar a reconstituir nuestros saberes. Quiere decir, aquellos saberes que decimos, eso no sirve, eso ya es del pasado.
It doesn't work. We don't say that. Just selecting it. It's a whole science of it. It's a challenge of it. It's a ritual. If it still applies, how are they doing it? But that's the thing to the grandmother. Let them talk. They're the ones who understand it. I understand with the rulers and stuff. I'm disconnecting from the Mother Earth, from the dialogue, with understanding the importance. Just to say an example. So we're going to rebuild this science as a town, stating that we do have science. We do have contributions. We have systems of life that have lived through time, through the colonization and decolonization, through the looting, through the imposition, through the sexual violence, through the empowerment, through the oppression. We are here. We're still alive, like somebody mentioned before. And then the subcontent of this, so we're going to take this. Our topic is going to be the Indigenous. Approximation to the definition of the intercultural research, then the characteristics of the intercultural investigation research, the ethical principles of intercultural research, and the purposes of the intercultural investigation research. how does it complement as well? The research from the Western side to, I'm going to be answering these questions. How are they complement each other? So that's a topic that we're going to look into. And now we're going to look into, give a side to the presentation of Africa. Asia, Africa, yes, Africa. You're welcome on the stage. Africa, are you ready?
So I'm going to share the social drama that we did that shows our cultural diversity. To show our diversity, we will start by everyone greeting from his own indigenous language. And as over again. Daisy, you can continue.
Okay, thank you. Those are the greetings from our diverse cultures, and that's how we coexist with each other. And next thing that shows the way we interrelate with different cultures is through music and dance. And below are pictures of one of the community we sample, which is the Pokot. Everything they're putting on has a meaning during their singing and dancing. Our next thing is on storytelling, whereby, as you can see in the picture below, women are sitting down. That's how they sit during storytelling in the village squares, whereby they tell stories to the young ones, like the intergenerational knowledge transfer. Next is on religious ceremonies, whereby my friend Nai is going to explain more.
And I'm going to use my indigenous language in showing this. And I'm going to mention some of the big blessings that we do. End of honor, enjomendo ishoro, enorongishu, endo domunye, oloshola, amunda iwa grama yandara. Those are a few of the main words that we use in this blessing.
Thank you very much, Nai. So that's how they bless in their community. One of the way, another cultural thing is initiation rites. As you can see below are pictures of how boys are initiated in the bushes, and that's how we believe that they become men. And that's how it's done across all the communities where we come from. Next is the livelihood practices. For us in Africa, we are pastoralists, agriculturists, and hunters and gatherers. And as you can see, the picture below is a man herding his goats, which is one of the source of livelihood to him. Thank you. Below, as you can see, the picture of cows. That's how much, that can be a herd of the whole village and also a herd of one person, because we believe in animals so much. Thank you very much.
And all these places. Okay, so apart from that, in Africa, indigenous people practice different agricultural practices where they plant indigenous crops. That is why most of them do not suffer from lifestyle diseases, because they utilize organic farming. And during storytelling, we all sit the way you see the women are seated. This is the time that we share what we have as a community to our generation. So each generation will understand what is going on in our community because of the storytelling that we keep on sharing from our grandmother to us today, and also to the young ones who are coming.
Thank you, my friend Nai and Vivian. And just to add on what Nai explained about religious practices, that is how our also men or our elders chant. But for us, we do it when we are facing the east. That's where we believe where the sun rises is where our goals are, is where our ancestors are. Thank you very much. Kongoi.
Thank you.
Muy bien, muchas
So,
gracias al grupo de África.
Thank you to the group of Africa. They were trying to tell us a part of their wisdom, of the knowledge that they still live in their indigenous towns and communities. And if you can say, they make emphasis, who are the people, the builders of this, is mainly the elders. The youth is in another moment. And that's a big risk, because in the measure that population, the third populations are dying, that knowledge and the traditions die with them. So that's a big challenge that we have there in intercultural research. I would like to ask, we're going to leave just a moment. We're going to do a presentation so that Asia can start preparing and ask you. We're closing a week ago. Now we have Africa presenting. What comments do you have based on what they saw? The question is, what would you understand? Where does intercultural research come from? What are the origins of the intercultural research? How does what's the basis of it? A couple of questions and then we'll get there. If anyone wants to make a question or comment, then do so, please. If not, I'll start asking questions to you. What is the origin of intercultural research? Where does it come from? Based on what you see, what you saw from your own experience and from what you saw from the presentation. Then Jesse, then Samai. So done. What do you think is the origin of the intercultural research? Where does it come from? How does it start? Can you listen to me? Doman? Okay, Jesse, you can start now.
Oh, sorry. Wait. Mir, are you there?
Yes, Doman, are you gonna talk? The question is, where's the origin of intercultural research
Min, where's
for
our
you?
PowerPoint?
Can I comment?
you want me to share the
Wait,
PowerPoint?
sorry.
Sorry, please give me a minute.
Okay.
Pero no, esta es la
I'll help you
presentación
read.
de ellas
I hope
de
the
Asia
signal is good.
y la vamos a presentar. Ah, bueno. Bien.
This is supposed to be Africa, right? Is this an Africa presentation? No.
No, this is Asha.
Can you wait? Can you give us a second for Asia?
No, it's
Not Asia
Asia.
right now. We're waiting on the
Please
comments from
start.
Africa right now, please. Asia, just give us a second. Just give us a little second, Asia, before you present. We'll leave Doman to talk about the origin. Doman, you go first. What is the origin for intercultural research? Where does it come from?
Can I attempt? So,
From what I saw
from Africa.
and based on the dialogue, I consider that intercultural research comes mainly from the knowledge of the indigenous towns. I see it as a way of working towards the justice, a systemic justice for the towns, where many people were discriminated. Even I have some memories of my grandparents when they said that their children, they were beaten when we're talking about their native tongue, and they were victims of discrimination and violence because of the tongue, because of their knowledge. So the intercultural research gives us that gives us that value, that knowledge, and as knowledge, as that they are just as valuable to the superior education, to the science that we know from superior education, which is most developed through many years. How to crop, when to crop, what type of seed to use, where to put it, how to use our rivers and streams, and how to make front to that changes, to that violence. That can be adapted. So it hasn't been static, it's been adjusting. And we have reflection processes. And that allows us, that the intercultural research allows us to do that. As we mentioned before, it recovers parts of the intercultural research, recovers that experience. And it serves us. And recover the memories allows us to gather more information and see how we work. Thank you. Samay? Nailin afterwards. I wanted to say that along the lines of when we talk intercultural research, we're talking about our own knowledge. So we can have many types of dialogue. So we have the European culture, because on the classes that we have, we've done this, we have this idea. We have all this centrality. And from that part, we see that we got to frame the colonization and positioning our own knowledge and our own voices, and then listen to our elders, because they have certain knowledge that can be lost, and are being lost through the years, as the years go by. And that's a love that we might put into the research, besides just the investigation and the information and the technical part, but the feeling that you put into it, and the collective word that you have with people. There's a lot of knowledge that can be used, and that allows us to sustain. And there's a little healing in that process as well. So that's part of the intercultural research. There's part of many aspects that come into intercultural research. So we can have that dialogue. You have the European part, and then you can also look into your own work. And that's part of it. Thank you very much. I think that the classes have been very useful in that sense, in the philosophy that we're using and how it's worked for us. So thank you for allowing us to for having us spaces. All right, Samay. Naile?
Thank you so much. To me, based on the question that we have asked, where does it actually originate from it? To my answer is that it's driven from us, within the community itself, that you're going to conduct the research in it, whereby our intention is to fill the gap that we only, basically, while a lot of research go on within the community we're working with, which are the indigenous, is basically most of the time we forgot the cultural aspect which is within them and the important knowledge that they uphold in their own systematic and the livelihood system that they have. Because when you are risen, as you continue being older, we have been implanted a number of knowledge that we acquire from the elders, from the seers, the healers, and other structural that we have as indigenous communities. So in that modality, while doing this research, it originates from that to fill the gap that was already snatched from us by blinding us with the best other research or with the other modernity of the colonial formality, leaving ours. So this will come to fill the gap that has been there for long. So I think the origin itself should become from the community and within the dwellers of that knowledge. Thank you.
Perdón. Vivian también tiene aportes para esta parte.
Vivian, you wanted to say something else as well?
Yes. So just to add on what my colleagues have said, Teacher Lorena, you mentioned about academic disciplines such as anthropology, sociology, and communication and stuff. And according to me, that is also one of the origin of intercultural research. Thank you.
Muy bien. Entonces creo que esa mirada crítica.
That critical thinking that you have, that you just have right now, of what is intercultural research and epistemology, and how it's sustained within the research models that we looked into. Like you mentioned before, with our knowledge, let's make a stop on it. Let's rebuild this. With political actions, we see with this intercultural research as political actions. And it's a big responsibility. So we got to look at the origins of the intercultural research. What does this imply? The research, the sense of our research is to look at ourselves, to understand us, to name us, to put us in the first plane of the feelings, of the cosmos sensing, and the voices of the elder. But when we talk about that, we're talking about also about the water, about the sun, the wind, fire, land, of our brothers and sisters who have walked for so many times. When a grandmother of 80 years old is talking to us, she's talking to us for at least 3 generations before her. So she had that wisdom and the knowledge that was translated from her from different generations, from her grandmother, from her mother. So we talk about the knowledge that we bring. And sometimes we have them in a corner because they're not in the technology, and sometimes we put them aside because of that. Although they have physical strength at one point. But like our grandmother would say, we got to be open. Like the wind, the fire, the plant, the fire, the wind, water, the sun. And what is it teaching us? From the science, we don't know. The sex science, we don't know. But to us, there is a knowledge there. There is communication there. So it's awakening. It's putting ourselves in that first plane of the generations of men of our own towns, of the indigenous territory. And not looking at the first plane and putting aside the other knowledge. It's recognizing us ourselves and what contributions those other knowledges brings to the table. Because we're not going to be in that looking at it from what's happening and what's not. We recognize that there are sciences from other cultures, not only from the Western side, that society, but that can contribute to our thinking. But our big challenge is how does the sciences and knowings contribute to what we have? So the biggest point is our science and knowledge and wisdom to look at ourselves, to contemplate ourselves and understand ourselves, to start needing collectively all the scopes and how does this life is impacted for our communities. So our research is going to be built from within, looking at ourselves, questioning, decolonizing us, contemplating and acknowledging what we have. It's not only the knowledge of the Azamai. It's a knowledge of all of you together. That's the path that we're taking for decolonization. And it's a whole process. It's a continuous and political process. It doesn't mean it starts today and it finishes today. It's a process. You already look at this study. Once we're done with these studies, and it's a political action. Because it's saying, let's look at the load. Mental, logical, physical, that was installed. So that's why we say this. So it's not only limited to this political action, to talk about rights. Behind that, on those rights, when we talk about rights, you got to take into account that that we have a human person behind it. We might know everything. We might know all the laws. But we continue with the fear, within ourselves, the discussion towards us. Existence is fundamental. It's the strength of our women, of how we state stuff. Boaventura de Sousa Santos, he says that there are 5 monocultures that generate a pesticide and the criminalization of the towns. Which are they? It's a system that has abysmal thoughts.
It's a system of visions that are visible and invisible. We recognize some and that divide the social realities from two different sides. The first line, this side of the line, and the other side of the line, meaning who are on this side of the line and who are on the other side. The other issue is the division that states that the other side of the line disappears as the reality. It becomes an unexistent, meaning the sociology of the absences, everything that the hegemonic feeling or thinking negates. On this side is the hegemonic thought, which is the only true science that exists. And then in the other side, doesn't exist. It's not there. That's absent sociology that denies the other sciences, the other knowledges, and the other knowledge and wisdom. What's produced as unexistent is excluded, meaning if
pueblos, nuestras ciencias de ecología, de cuidado de la madre tierra.
And that energy of caring for Mother Earth and preservation of biodiversity is excluded, it's made invisible and it's denied. And its existence is denied, and with that, we deny our rights. And we impose a social regulation on the search of our social emancipation. Meaning it's not just denying knowledge. When you deny knowledge, you deny science, you deny systems of life of peoples, the strength of women, the work of the collective, the organization, the resistance, the support of what people bring in all the systems, not only culturally, but economic, political, social, and cultural. When you deny the existence, you deny our rights. Our rights are collective rights, that we are imposed ways to repress our ways of emancipation, our rebellion against this system. And we are denying our emancipation. We are taking away our strength, our political strength is taken away, and we see science as the only valid way of knowledge. And to this knowledge, this author refers to as abysmal thoughts. Now, another element is the ecology of knowledge. Sorry. First, the knowledge of the ecology of
la única verdad, mentira.
Knowledge is recognizing that there's not just one way of knowledge. We don't have the only truth.
Y hay otros saberes. Nosotros sí los reconocemos. Sí nos hemos formado en esos saberes desde esa epistemología hegemónica. Ahora el reto es cuestionarla y deconstruir todo aquello que nos oprime, que nos condiciona, que no nos permite florecer. Entonces la ecología de saberes parte fundamentalmente de las cosmovisiones, resistencia, resiliencia y existencia de los pueblos originarios. Hay cosmovisiones, hay maneras de sentir, de comprender, de vivir en este plano tierra, en vínculo con el cosmos, en vínculo con las otras especies. Hay maneras de que en medio de la colonización, de la neocolonización, de los despojos históricos y actuales, hemos resistido. Estamos vivas, estamos aquí, estamos presentes. Nuestras abuelas siguieron usando su idioma originario, nuestras madres, nuestros padres, y hoy tal vez muchas de nosotras. Niñas y niños corren, entienden el sentido de la pintura, del tejido, de hablar con el agua, de cuidar los árboles. Y hemos resistido a todas esas imposiciones. ¿Cómo es posible, me dijo alguien en el aeropuerto, que usted traiga esto? ¿De qué viene disfrazada? Yo traté de entender, porque no me puedo enojar. Simplemente dije, es ignorancia. Y solo así se viste cuando sale. Eso es resistencia. Y no es una resistencia, yo me pongo esta indumentaria maya quiché porque por gusto, no, tiene un sentido político para mí. Porque aquí está tejida la vida, la sabiduría, los conocimientos, los cosmocimientos. Aquí se plasma la naturaleza. Y dijo una abuela, nos investimos con la madre naturaleza. Aquí hay flores, etcétera. Entonces no es una acción, la resistencia aborda todos los aspectos económico, político, social y cultural. Y la resiliencia. ¿Cómo es posible? Decía alguien, ¿cómo han aguantado? Decía un presidente de Guatemala. ¿Cómo es posible?
How have they taken on? How is it that you're still alive?
You live colonization. You live through it.
We have colonization. You lived all the hunger.
You survive. And we keep going.
All the diseases.
And we are here. After the repression, we're still here.
We had a lot of diseases and we're still alive.
We're
How
still
is that
going.
possible? How is
we're
it
still wearing our
possible
colors.
that we are still
Feeding from our
dressing in
gastronomy.
color, feeding our gastronomy?
Contributing to the existence of the elements of our own towns, to the elements of Mother Earth. And that's what we want from you. So there's a diversity.
Reconocemos que existen diversos conocimientos. Me detengo un momentito porque entendí que levantó la mano Dunen. ¿O no? ¿Sí? ¿No? Ah, perdón. Entonces,
Tenemos
continúo.
problemas con la interpretación, no sé. Alina, ¿ya estás con nosotros? Alina. Ok,
Muy,
bueno,
por
adelante.
favor. Y otro, entonces, cuando hablamos de diversidad
And
de
when we talk about diversity,
que hay un colectivo de
there is a collective knowledge of the cultures, millennial cultures,
la humanidad para la
for humanity, for life,
para privatizar la salud.
not only to provide, it's not to have it locked in. When I have a serum here on a bottle, it's not there to be collected.
Privatizar el agua.
It's not to privatize water.
Conocimientos de distintas culturas y pueblos
We have different cultures here
la vida. Eso es parte
that are there for life.
que no existe una sola ciencia. Y que
And there is not only one science.
ciencia hegemónica.
We can question that science.
Y también la ecología de saberes es
And the ecology of knowledge is that
quiere decir, ¿podré yo desaprender?
can I still unlearn stuff?
Diría una abuelita,
If I was able to learn,
si aprendiste a ser mentirosa, podés
if you learn to be a liar, you can learn to tell the truth.
si aprendí a pensar que yo soy el centro
If we're able to think that I was a center
de la tierra,
and that I dominate everything,
disculpa,
today Earth's telling me
si hoy se va
what happens if
el agua,
water runs out,
se apagan las estrellas,
if the moon stops, if the stars fail,
¿qué pasaría?
what would happen?
Vamos a morir, nos vamos a
We will die, wouldn't we? We will disappear.
Pero ¿qué pasa si la humanidad
But what happens with the humanities?
limpia los mares?
The water, we clean it. The water, with mountains
Se multiplican, las semillas
multiply, animals multiply.
quiere decir que nosotros, ese es un desafío.
So that's part of
Somos
the knowledge that we have.
somos parte de una red,
We are part of it. We're part of that network.
una partícula de esa gran
We're a particle
y dependemos
in life,
de ella, por eso
and we depend on it.
responsables de cuidar.
We got to be responsible about it, of unlearning to be able to learn again.
Desaprender todo lo que ese sistema hegemónico y esa
What is that system? That is that colonization
y matriz colonial nos impuso
and that matrix
y nos cargó energética, emocional,
that load us energetically,
política,
physically, mentally
para aprender la
to learn
vida,
the culture of life,
la red de la vida,
the network of life,
que de más de
to acknowledge
existencia de la
for over 5,000 years of existence.
solo tengo 56 y tal vez
I only have 56, obviously,
70, no sé,
but some people have 60, have more.
un tiempo corto en
But I'm just I'm just sharing a piece of time here
esta casa que me prestaron que se llama
in this house that I was borrowed.
Vivo.
But how do I live it?
Aprender a vivir con dignidad, con
I live with dignity,
fuerza, a
with joy, with strength,
otros conocimientos
recognizing the knowledges that are there, other knowledges that exist.
sí, y lo hemos hecho. Nosotros
And that's what we've been doing.
originarios
As original towns, that's what we're doing.
fuerza de la violencia
We're a force from violence.
adaptar a ese
We've been able to adapt
y empezar
to
a
certain
aprender
systems.
otros conocimientos. Ahora
And we start learning new knowledges, but we're focused on our colonial knowledge.
ahora tenemos la gran oportunidad
But we have the opportunity
de nuevo de
to learn,
nosotras y nosotros.
and through ourselves,
Se lo dice la abuela es ciencia,
that the elder tells us is science.
las semillas,
And how we get taking care of those seeds?
los territorios de los
How have we taken care of the ecosystem?
llegan a estudiar, pues sí,
Some comes to study
nuestro sistema es acabar,
because that's what the systems tell us is destroy us,
contaminar, y lo que nos
contaminate, pollute.
es cuidar, respetar,
But we're trying to take care, nurture,
organizarnos con los tiempos,
harmonize with our land, with nature,
reconociendo que
without forgetting
conocimientos colectivos de otros
that we have collected knowledge there,
y sin olvidar nuestros conocimientos propios.
and without forgetting our own ideas. And there's another element.
Comparar el conocimiento
Sharing our knowledge, comparing our knowledge
con el que está
that is being learned
o que está-
with the one that is being forgotten.
¿Cuál es el conocimiento que estamos
What is the cosmos knowledge that we're losing?
¿Qué es ese conocimiento que se está olvidando?
What is that knowledge that we're forgetting? That is being taken to sleep. And we're not listening to. It doesn't listen to us. Because we're changing. Perhaps sometimes we're not listening to the elder because she's an older person. But there's the books open. So we compare the knowledge that we're leaving aside with our grandparents who are left aside in a corner. Are we learning? And what is the one that's being forgotten? So it's interacting with the knowledge that cross themselves within ignorance as well. What are we ignoring? How do we interact with what we learn, with what we created, and those have been ignored? And promote a conscience for this type of thinking, meaning the ecology of knowledge makes us be aware that we have epistemology of our own. We have cosmo knowledge, feeling and thinking, cosmo feeling that comes from our original towns, from Asia, Africa, and that we have other cosmo knowledge. And from that consistency and from that acknowledgement, we can create a statement, a thinking, where we're not going to say, in my case, the only knowledge that I know and that I recognize is mine. Or is it Quechua town? I forgot about the names of the Africa towns, but think about one of yours, or Africa or Asia. It's not the only knowledge. We have many. That if they need them together, they can contribute to life. And that's another element. And part of that diversity comes from that. Not thinking that we only have one person, one system, one individual, centralized, controller. The world is diverse, social culturally speaking as well. From the biodiversity, it's also very different. The world is richness. And that's why the man is the one who created borders. And that makes us feel afraid to get together. How does the knowledge from Africa get to America? Because of migration, all the barriers that we found, and the legal frames have been established. And then a grandparent would say, no, it wouldn't be so hard to get there. And from the other side to come to us. And we deny that diversity. And then stop saying one knowledge, one only truth. There is a whole knowledge here. And why do I say cosmo knowledge? Because as towns, they're getting nurtured through a relationship with the cosmos, with the planets, with the sun, with the moon. From that system. That's why we're speaking about cosmo knowledge. Why do I say feeling and thinking? Because our towns, from our origins, we feel. I felt it. I had a hunch. Before that reasoning, I had a hunch. So that's another difference that makes our origin with reasoning that we use. Not only objectivity. Having to use that reasoning is important. And subjectivity. That wisdom. Why do we say cosmo feeling, cosmo thinking? Because we're trying to think from that relationship with Mother Earth. And that's how we threw that getting rid of that colonization and that global capacity to change. That's part of the process too. How can we resist it? That getting the uniform knowledge and harmonize and have one way of thinking. I think on the recommendation that I forgot the name that spoke about that we talked with Sara. How hard was it to recognize to have indigenous ticos because they were locked in? To that capitalism. That's what we talk about ecology. And then we'll also think about that town. How do we that monoculture of knowledge that we have, what's believable and not. The progress, here are the towns, here the countries are the third world countries, and those are the ones that are developed in that line, in that lineal timeline, the ones that are civilized. Here are the barbarics, and here's the ones. You are here, and they are there. You probably one day you probably come to us, and you'll be able to reach that civilization. And that's the one we're talking about. We want to be like that. Developed countries, quote unquote, where we forgot about the life and the relationship with the cosmos and the other beings. The other part is the ignorant, the monocultural ignorance because of reasoning, gender, race, and class, and the hierarchy. We are second category. Throughout the world, white race is above us, is the first class, and then everyone is below them. The dominant class, and then the poorest class. The man and the woman that lives this selective nature, this power, this power culture, this culture of power. I'm sorry. We're the ones who are being we're the ones who are poor, the ones that can be thrown out. And the other element is to the ecology of knowledge, the monoculture of the universal as something that's valid within the margin of the context. And we talk about the local as something that lacks validity. And we talk about the monoculture as in that marketing and that the deprivation of nature, that is not productive. We naturalize and justify exploitation. What does it say? Those forests we can use them with their stuff. Yeah, but that's a lung of the world. That's our thinking. But it doesn't generate economy. And with that statement, in that idea, that mindset of marketing, that's how we see the exploitation of our forest, of the land, of the rivers, of nature, and of people. And that's how we see that part. When we see this colonization, we see this. Who did they put there? How would they put these people? Exploiting people. And that exploitation still follows nowadays. When so there's a company coming, So that's what I see. That's how they prayed. That's how they destroyed our sacred places. You're gonna find a word. Don't worry. To what cost? What is the cost of that exploitation? What is the cost of that praying? What are the laws? That labor laws that protect us. Where are they? So that's part of the statement that when I said there. And the other element is monoculture of the knowledge and the homogenic science rigor. So the different knowledge, the college of the different knowledges, the temporality that values the positive, the different temporal types of living. So with that monoculture that we've spoken about, that we are in the timeline, and then there they are in the other side of the first world countries, and they'll probably reach them one day. And that's the order that we have. And that's the linear progress that we're talking about. We talk about the animals, the water, the people, the monoculture of nature, of the hierarchies, and the ecology of the knowledge, where we recognize the strength and the wisdom of the civilizations, of the original towns, of that towns, of that category that came with that intention of feeling victims, of having to depend. We're not poor. We are people who have been thrown away from our lands with that division of class. So we've been stripped off of our lands, of our knowledge. They want us to feel, that's why they want us to feel poor. To feel exploited, so that they can do their things, so that we are always extending our hands. We recognize that we've been exploited, that we've been stripped of our own land, of our territories, of our knowledge. But we recognize that we are lights of human. And the way they said, this is how we are man, this is how we are woman, that's part of the element. In our languages, in original languages, we have Winak. We have people. Doesn't have to be if it's men or women. We are whole. They have joys. The men and women have sensitivity. We have powers. Men and women have authority. Beyond that line where we're saying because you were born a man or because you were born a woman. And that's the ecology of knowledge, where we recognize ourselves as humans beyond the label of gender. We have billions of dignity and justice. I'm a light being. I'm a being of light. And that's how I was built. So we have a light energy. And you have that, you bring that in from your mother and father. And it's sacred when we have it.
The day that you, for the 9 months of gestation, the day that you were born, you were given that strength. You are a collective being, an energetic being, a physical, emotional, mental being. The day you send your situation, the strength of your reasoning, of your feeling, of everything that you are. And it's not just women. Only women feel. Any monoculture will tell us that. That's why we have to recover or retrieve our dignity of people, of communities, beyond the labels of being women or men. We all need to recover our dignity. And another aspect is before the monoculture of the universal as the only thing valid and real, it's the economy of transcales. To value ecology, value family, value our neighborhood, value our community, the space, our territorial space, and our social space with which I live. From this local space where we don't make it invisible, where we don't become invisible, deglobalizing everything, where we don't recognize ourselves from our local spaces, our communities. That's the importance in this part. And the monoculture of protectiveness of capitalism, and it promotes the human exploitation and the nature exploitation, and so it doesn't respect the economies of the peoples. And they tell me, what did your parent do? Oh, my dad was a baker, and so was my mother, and they would make food to sell. Oh, how did they make money? Were they teachers? No, they didn't depend on anybody. Their own economy with their own weavings. From that economy for life, where they didn't accumulate accounts or money, nothing. What my mother would say is, we're going to make money to eat with dignity. We're going to work to give others work without taking bread from others, because our economy is not for exploitation or for amassing or to have power. Our economy as originary peoples is for life. These are economies for families, collective economies, where we are not thinking of exploitation. And I've seen people, when they're working on the agriculture, they take their time to eat, to speak, and then they continue when their field is theirs. But before this, or when you're facing this system that exploits humans, I've seen in the fields for cane sugar, for palm, workers are put on Pampers, and they give them a special drink to produce. Why the Pampers? So they don't even lose a minute to produce. In 3 years, that strength, that youth of men and women that came in working, they have issues with their kidneys, they're addicted to that drug that they give them, and they're abused from that system that is designed to amass money and power. So our ways of commerce are sustained with community. When I go to a place, I say, in my community, when you go to the market, you say, give me exactly what I need, a pound, 16 ounces. Sometimes when you weigh some products that come packaged in a supermarket, they weigh less. They cost more. And what happens is that how are you going to demand for what you're actually paying for? But when you go to a market, they give you the exact amount and you pay the fair price, and you're not going to ask them for a lesser price, because you know it took an effort to get there, in transportation, in work, in everything. But we are always asking for a lesser price in those cases, but not in the supermarket. So we're not respecting collective community, collective economies, communities. We have to recognize that we have our own systems that are really dying in the face of supposed growth. So another focus of intercultural research is Sumakai, and I'm sorry if I don't pronounce this correctly. Because another center is the cosmo-knowledge, the historical cosmo-knowledge. It's the story of cosmovision and the systems of life and the collective rights of originary peoples, of men, of women, of generations, and of Mother Earth. The adding, or the summa camaña, Sumakause. Sorry, that's how you pronounce it. Sumakamanya and Sumakause. Utskaslemal, which is the good living. Living with happiness, with a sense of completion.
Todos los segundos, todos los minutos.
Every day, every second, every minute. And when there is sadness, we must understand it because it's our teacher. And when there's a lack of physical,
Cuando hay
how does it teach me? And when there are other situations, I don't live in the middle of that. Living well, good living from nature,
no es
from
el
the cosmos and humanity.
Es de toda la red
It's not the good living of people, it's of the other network of life, nature, and cosmo harmony. And the thinking, the social thinking, history and social thinking. And there I make a comparison how our research comes from a basis of the thinking of our peoples, the thinking, the knowledge, another system and what it's based upon. The history, the social thinking, and the knowledge, the androcentric knowledge, the anthropocentric and monocultural. Androcentric because they deny the existence of women and the strength of women, and the existence of the strength of men prevails. Anthropocentric because we believe that the people and humanity are the center. The rest is to exploit. It exists to exploit, to contaminate, to deplete, without thinking that everything is life and we are just a small part of life. And monocultural because it bases on the idea that there's one unique science, one unique culture, one unique truth. From that hegemonic epistemology. And what is it based on? The culture of death, colonialism, the thought of thinking, of amassing power, money. And to do that, I will assassinate. I will take the life from water, from flora, from fauna, from people. I take away the balance of the cosmos. It's based on colonialism, patriarchy, racism, capitalism, and neoliberalism. Voracious neoliberalism. And as researchers, what are we going to base our research on? On this or on the summa cum sai? And how are we going to make it visible in our documents and our methodologies and work that we're going to do? And the establishment of life, and I speak of it from one of the languages, out of the 23 indigenous languages, is Quiche, and it's called Utsilai Kaslemal, which is establishing life that flourishes when the originary peoples on themselves are direct themselves. They self-determinate without repression, without being taken, without being depleted, without impoverishment, without violence, and without external influence that takes away their life, their balance, and their harmony. So this establishment of Utslash Kaslemal is living in harmony, in complementing each other, where we're not the center of life, we're a part of a network of life. This Kuchilai Katzlemal which is flourishing. It's the flourishing and blossoming of all of us, including the earth and all the elements, including girls, women, all generations. It will flourish or blossom as long as we are not repressing, we are not depleting, we're not impoverishing originary peoples. Meaning that if this has survived, even though we are living with a contrary system, we open our eyes and we say, we had 3 trees in front of my window where I am, and now there's only 2. And before, all of this was a forest, and now, they're building next to me. How do I live when I face that, when I see that? And if we see the political and social and economic systems and the world policies that now they discuss how they're going to distribute power in the world, how they're going to distribute territories, how do they take away from us? So this Uchilay Caslemal, this good living for humanity, for not only for the peoples, for the communities, will flourish if we end repression, we end impoverishment, we end, or they stop taking away our lives and our freedoms. That's why the rights for the fight for collective rights is political, is fundamental. Defending Mother Earth is fundamental. And what is this based on? This life theory. It's based on recognizing the existence of other beings and other elements of nature that complement each other, that they're alive. If I have feelings, if I have a kush reason, if I feel, if I was born in the womb of my mother, if I laugh, if I cry, why do I think that water doesn't laugh? Why do I think that the dog that lives in my house wasn't born from a womb? They took them away to be with me. It also cries and feels. It also the water also feels. Even the grandmother who's silent feels. The seeds feel. This table, this chair that holds me, they feel. Everything has kush. Everything has a heart. Everything has life. It takes us to a relation of care, respect, and protection, defense and to feel. It's a feeling of kindness. Everything is kind. A flower, a dog, water. You are kind. Kindness is that sensibility. It's a very profound sensibility, and it's from that practice that you must be careful. Recognizing territory as a sacred space that allows the binding. Sorry, but I have the idea that it promotes the coming together, the complementing each other. So territories aren't ours as humans only. That territory is a place of ants, of birds, of seeds, of flowers, of water, all the species that live together and that we have to take care of, especially us as humans. We have to take care of them because from that, our life is depending and our generations depend on that. And the living and reproduction of that and all those elements coming together, building identities, values, and spirit. What does that mean? That system of life determines our identities, determines our ways to express and live in the world. It determines our spirituality. Because I bow my head before a grandmother and I ask her to bless me, because I think that this week we had the first rain. We didn't have rain since January. We have concerns and we bow down and we thank for the rain, and they say, oh, she's crazy. We lit incense and candles because the sacred rain came, because the flora, the fauna, the seeds needed it. And that's spirituality, that when we see the first corn cob, even if it's rotten, we kiss it because the earth still believes in us and it gave us corn. When we see the markets filled with food, we thank the earth because there's no food in other fields. It's that communion, that dialogue with those other ways of life and with those other systems of life. It means that living together, all those elements, allows us to create and recreate us, to live. And here, there's an element that I want to cite from our established, what we state, our statements. We don't talk about natural resources because the resource is something that I use and I throw it away. Today I used a match that is made of wood that has a whole cycle. How many trees could be there? And I threw it out, and I'm done. Thank you, match. Not a resource. It's something that comes from a tree. The earth, the water, the air, the species, the biodiversity, those are just property. But they're not, they're assets that take care of life. And that humanity is just another element of that network of Mother Nature. And as a humanity, we have to be responsible of that life and those elements of these assets. Why assets? Because they're so good for us. They give us more value. Water is fundamental since we wake up to when we lay to rest. Oxygen. Without oxygen, what would we be like? The bird songs, the seeds that we eat, the fruits, the vegetables, the legumes, those are sacred. What would we do if forests didn't exist, if they didn't exist? So we are responsible. We must take care of them because they give us life. They do good by us. All the elements of Mother are sisters and brothers amongst themselves, including humanity. We are not more than water. We are not more than the forest. We're not even more than an ant. We are all necessary. We give life. And each element of mothers bring more value to life, to good living, to well-being of their sisters and brothers, but not just of people, of all the network. And we are looking for the care of life and of each natural asset that provides life for the brothers and sisters. Why? Because if I'm going to take care of the forest, now that we have forest fires, what did I do? Did I take food? Did I take water? How did I help? I bow down to ask for the fire to stop. I go to the forest to cut or to replenish the forest, to replant trees. Because the forest is a being that needs life because my life depends on that life. My oxygen, my water depends on that forest. So we're going to take care of each other as an asset for life. We are looking for caring for today to protect the life of tomorrow from life and the experience of yesterday. It looks like a jumble of words. We take care of today. What I take care of today, it won't be any good for today, but it will be for the future, for those who are coming behind me, for the new generations of people and animals and plants and seeds. Why? Because those who take care of yesterday, my grandmothers, my grandfathers, my mothers, my fathers, the other generations that are before me will contribute for me to have water today and enjoy forests, enjoy seas. That's why we say take care of the life of today to protect the life of tomorrow from life and experience of yesterday. Today, I enjoy so many blessings and gifts because others worked for that. Others served the life. Whatever I do today is not for me. It's for the generations that are coming behind me, which is why careful with what I do today. I either help balance or unbalance because it's not for me. I'm just enjoying or carrying what others did. But what I do today will depend on what it's going to make the life that others are going to benefit from. And others benefit from the benefits of life, and it generates a culture of responsibility in caring for life. I can buy 10 sweaters, but what am I generating with so much consumption, so many pairs of tennis shoes? What am I doing? What am I generating with that culture of consumerism? That's why we say natural assets for life, natural goods for life, with breaking with accumulation. And how we have to make these generations feel and act and relate with humanity, a holistic vision that is based on reciprocity, which is that if I receive, I have the responsibility to give. If I give, I have the right to receive. Solidarity, the balance of collectiveness Understanding that humanity must live within the limits of the world, it means I cannot live depleting water. Just washing a glass, I waste a liter of water. It's an example. If I brush my teeth, I waste another liter of water. I'm not understanding the limits of natural worlds. Water, earth, the woods, species, they have limits. They are in the service of the life of other generations. And if today I look for responsibility with abuse, I'm taking away the balance. We must live within that limit that constitutes in a part, which is a part, and I recognize I'm a part of the world. We're not a particle, we're not the center. Another important element is to promote defense of life with us, ourselves, with water, with the territory that we live. And that bases a holistic view that bases itself on the collective rights of humanity. Not all individual rights are valid, because we can't just have individual rights and destroy collective rights of communities, of humanity, of peoples, but not just of the peoples, but also the rights of Mother Earth, of water, of the woods, of the planet. That's another fundamental element of our establishment as, or our offering to the world as originary communities, originary peoples. And the basis of this statement is cosmovision as peoples, our own ways of life, recognizing that they exist, not denying them, shake them, clean them, wake them up, give them life, their respect and defense of life in all its expressions. If I take care of myself, I take care of my grandmother, I take care of my grandfather, and my partners in life. I take care of my kids, I take care of water, I take care of everything, and I defend. And I make sure that I oppose myself when life wants to end, and I organize myself and I make statements. Another element or a basis for this life statement is Mother Earth, cosmos, the community and what's local, the strength of that territory where we are, that cannot be homogenized, that cannot be formed or deformed, that has its own dynamic, its own wisdom, its own way of celebrating, of being alive, of living together, collective participation, and the collective construction of generations has means that where we have that intergenerational exchange of women, children, grandmothers, grandfathers, youth, where we have that dialogue or complementary life between women and life, when one is not imposed over the other, that communication, that respectful way of treating goods and assets. In our town, it says you cut a tree, you plant four. You're gonna cut the necessary branches of the plant for you and for your neighbors that don't have anything. You don't pick all the corn of the field, because you have to leave it for the animals that get there, for the birds, for the mice. And you have a little bit for the people, and you leave a little bit for people who don't have land, and they go and gather. And that responsible production says, I can't fish if this is the season where fish reproduce. I can't fish if they are reproducing, if they're finding each other, if they're loving each other. I can't do that. I will go fish when there are species, and I'm going to ask permission. Okay, I have to move forward. I don't have time. I have to sell, because that's what the system teaches us. I'm just giving you the example of fish. And the good and the living in a way, a good living in a way that it benefits all people, that it promotes a honest and solid way of life for all of us, in harmony with the cosmos, with our energy. What is the moon telling us today? The moon is red. The sky is red. Oh, that's beautiful. No, it's telling us something. It's letting us know that something's coming. The sky is speaking. The moon is speaking. The sun is speaking to us. It's giving us a message. heat is coming, disease is coming, get ready. What does that give us? A way and a lifestyle that is capable of interacting in harmony with nature. This is opposed to consumerism, to concentration and accumulation and depredatory practices. It ends that way of life based on death. It's not going to impose. We just want to contribute to that other system that ends a life. It provides balance and equity between people, equality between people, even if it's regardless of if I'm man or woman. It's equality and justice among beings that were born with the same dignity, that have the same rights, that have to flourish with the energy that they have. You're going to live 60 years, have them flourish for 16 years and not have them end from that oppressive system. Build collectively equality and justice amongst the peoples. It's not that the person who has technology has more or less. It's not that the grandmother that comes from the 20th century has knowledge of the 18th century. She doesn't know. Yes, she does know. Oh, but she's the one in charge. No, she's not. She has wisdom. You have to recognize the strength and wisdom of generations and towards the natural assets and goods and factors that destroy life. That means, how do we build justice and equality from that knowledge that recognizes that there are structural systems that are promoting depletion, that they're promoting destroying life, death. And I know it exists, but I will contribute collectively for that system does not end life in our territories and in humanity, and that it allows us to unearth inequality, racism, and oppression, historical oppression and practical oppression that destroy life and that destroy peoples. The principles, lack of conformity. We have to be peoples who are not conforming to the way of life. We have not passive. Women who do not conform to oppression, to violence, to racism. It's about taking care of energy, of the essence. Nahual, we call it in my people, meaning in the depth of people, animals, nature, and all the elements of life. It's based on the collectiveness, on the good of the people, in duality and being complementary, in the balance and harmony, in the truth as the basis for justice, in order and harmony, in the balance, in reciprocity and service. Everything comes to serve. Water is to serve us, and us to serve water. We serve each other. The child, the person was born to serve, and others serve them. Service, not as a punishment, but service to give life. And service has no life, has no price. What strengths support this statement as originary peoples? First, we have to recognize that we live with Mother Earth and the universe, water, and the natural goods, common goods, and the cosmos. That we have spirituality and cosmovisions that are our own. There's no one religion, not one spirituality, not just one way to see the world. There are different cosmovisions with wisdom, with sciences, with cosmo knowledge that are our own, that we have our own economies that have been able to resist neoliberalism that's voracious, that we have born in an education for life that is not in a school. It's the education that we were given at home, education based on example, on advice, and learning doing. We have an education that's our own as people, systems that are our own, science of health, authority of health, systems and procedures to tend to health, not just to heal, but also preventive health, not only physical health, but emotional health and spiritual health, energetic health. mental health, physical health, that we have a culture that is millenary, a gastronomy that is our own, that is linked with the cycles of life. We are not going to eat cold. We know there are foods that are cold and hot that are going to help us according to the weather. And if a daughter is, and if a girl has her period, we know what she has to eat. That if a mother is gestating a human being, we know what she has to eat. That before she gives birth, she doesn't have to drink pills. There are medicinal plants that help her. That if the baby isn't being born and the mother is suffering, there's a whole ritual where mother harmonizes with her, tells her, I accept you. Even if it's a product of rape, maybe I didn't expect you, but I receive you. Where I harmonize with myself, and I forgive myself and the father of that kid, also of the child, also apologizes, and they tell that child, I'm sorry, I respect you, we welcome you, and we're sorry. And so we bring this child to life more calmly.
Nuestra cosmovisión y nuestra
Or this, everything has to do with our system of health and our cosmovision and our food culture is depending on this. We have our own agricultural systems without using chemicals. We have our own ways of art, not from that hegemonic art. When we have one concept of beauty, no, we are called artisanal. No, we call it the art of the people. The celebration as strength. It's even a celebration when somebody rests or they die or they move on to another plane of life. A celebration where we celebrate where women are born and people are born. We celebrate life when people are getting married. Our clothes is part of that system of life because they hold knowledge and cosmo knowledge, systems of weaving, of numbering. If I could explain what goes here, what it means and the relation that it has with the cosmos and nature, that our clothes is science, it's math, it's ecology, it's being ecological. Language as a strength for knowledge of the cosmo knowledge of the philosophy of people, because our languages have that system, that cosmovision. Our languages have science, philosophy, strength. Our ways of work that is understood from that economy for life, where work is not a load. Work is for me to grow, to learn, to provide something for humanity, for our ways of life exist and our territories live. And we are only temporary because then we leave. But in those territories, everything lives together. The entire network of life lives together, not just the families, not only the people live together. We all live together. Our territory for a sacred space where life is generated. All of that is what our systems of people sustain. And also the idea, the focus of research, of intercultural research, understanding that life statement says that there's a sense of cosmo feeling thinking, of cosmo knowledge and cosmo feeling from the voices of women and the generations and the peoples in communication in relation to the cosmos and Mother Earth. Research, the focus of research is that it promotes the articulations of the process to be able to establish methodological processes that are our own as peoples. It offers a research look, or a look of research from the condition of Indigenous women, from their context, from their cosmovision, from their stories. And there you're establishing that you're establishing a research that is faced or that is directed towards transformation, to revitalize our people, to defend the rights of women, to revitalize ourselves, to walk towards that good living that we just talked about, is to look for equality and justice, is to defend the collective rights as peoples and as women. That's the focus of the research. We also, or the focus is based on the love of Mother Earth as a source of life, of dignity, and transcendence of people, and of all the elements that make it up, and the relation with the stars and the planets, the cosmos. The Earth and the elements are alive, and they're within human rights. That's our focus. And the presence of Mother Earth, they have all the weavings, they have all the humans. That's why there's an important connection with humans and Mother Earth. We recognize the existence of the different and multiple knowledges that are historical, that are not just from yesterday, that are not made up. They are sciences and cosmo knowledge that come from the history, that have sustained life, that are present and alive in the local knowledge of grandmothers, grandfathers, in their ceremonies, in their culture of the fire, in temescal, or in the vapor, in the steam rooms, in the steam baths, in the communication with tobacco, with seeds, with cacao, with water, with the coke leaf, with rosemary, with thyme, with the other herbs. And that's where knowledge is born, in the local knowledge, that it's not isolated, it's collective, and it's linked with the relation that we have with our surroundings. What characteristics does this research focus have? First, it's to be people that are careful and caring of life. Take care of Mother Earth, learn from Mother Earth. That it's horizontal, circular. It takes us to unlearn and debuild and to heal. It recognizes the existence of all beings that are alive with the same dignity. I pause here. I hope you're not falling asleep and that you're not tired. And I would like to hear one opinion on what we had just heard. That's the philosophical political basis that our research or intercultural research has. And after one opinion, we're going to listen to one because of time. We're going to take our 10 minutes, and then we're going to ask the group of Asia to present afterward. So one opinion, okay? Is that okay? Does anybody want to speak? Does anybody have an opinion on what we talked about? Does anybody have a comment? Or a question? Okay, I hope that you don't ask me because it was good, or not because I tired you out or I made you fall asleep. So if we have no comments, okay, go ahead. I would like, well, I do have questions, but I also would like to give my comment, sorry. When I checked the materials, and today we had this presentation, it generated a lot of noise to me to read and know about Sosa DeSantis, because of the whole process of violence, academic violence that he had lived. So I was concerned, and I said, "Oh, I'm going to read him." It generated that curiosity, and it's not new. And when I was reading, when I was studying colonial feminism, it happened the same thing with Julieta Paredes, because there was a she denounced her partner, and it was all about the power of visionary women with all the theory. But when we're in the practice, it has so much more content. So I would like to ask, how must we position ourselves before this person and this knowledge that they can bring? But how are we, as intercultural researchers, what criteria must we place to be able to take these thoughts before these people that in an ethical way don't show what in theory they're talking about. And the other point is, I would like, and this is just a question, what are the, Lorena, from, I appreciate that you give us, or I love that you give us quotes from your grandmother. I would love to have met her and talk to her, but the same with grandmothers and grandfathers. But my question is, what are, in your experience, these methodologies that you have been discovering? How it would be beautiful to learn about these methodologies of your community so that we can also say, oh, we can go here. We can know these methodologies. Maybe we're still in this process because we're in the base module, but I would like to ask you that. Thank you.
Muchas gracias a Samay. Yo creo que esa es
Thank you, Samay. I think that that's part of our process of colonialism, that critical view. First, to recognize that there are important historical ideas of authors, women and men, that are conformed from that colonial matrix, from that hegemonic basis. And however, in its practice, we can continue doing this ethical part. What criteria are we going to use? And I recognize that. And it's going to make me establish that I have facts, or I have information that allows us to analyze this process of colonization and colonialism from different perspectives. And I remember an advice that a grandmother gave me, and I'm sorry I always speak about grandparents, but they have been my teachers in the last 20 years, and I recognize that just 20 years back, because I always was formed in that academy, and they teach us to devalue the grandparents. But now I've been taking the time to listen since 20 years back, and they would say, remember that we're not going to repeat that scheme of that system, that what is not there for them is excluded, it's denied. If what they bring you is going to give you life, take it. In the practice, we have to be critical. In their way of life, they're not coherent, consistent. From what I write, say, and do, that's not my responsibility. That's not our responsibility. But criticism and having that critical eye, say, yes, I can retrieve these ideas from this author. But if that author has been violent against the collective rights, which is one of the main thinkers or academics that promote to the World Bank or other centers of power, we have to be very careful. Why? Because we could use a theory that instead of feeding our process is going to weaken it. So I think that it's true that it's like kind of knowing details, and personally I didn't know what Samay was saying, and I appreciate it, but I think we have to be a little bit more exhaustive and critical when we look for authors, men and women, and go beyond what they write, but also know their background so that we can support that. And what I think that in our studies, the challenge is more than base ourselves in theories of others. Our main basis, at least is what I'm saying when Angela is sharing with us, maybe she has a different idea, but I feel like I don't want your studies, your research as FIMI. We don't want your research as FIMI that your studies say, oh, this is what author said versus author X versus author Y. No, we want your research papers to establish your ideas from the knowledge of the peoples, of grandparents and grandmothers and grandfathers, that you establish your own cosmovision, your own theory. FIMI is not going to tell you which author said it, because we're going to say when Carolina teaches her module, we're going to cite our authors, and they're not going to be from other books. They're going to be our grandfathers, our grandparents, the youth that we're going to consult. But we're not going to talk about just testimonies. With those testimonies, we're going to give ourselves the opportunity to build new ideas and new proposals. If my study is about health, I'm going to write an idea, a research of health from peoples or from Quechua peoples. From what I saw in my community X, that's going to be the challenge that we have. And I feel like that ethical part is very fundamental, and it calls us to be coherent from what we write, say, and do. That would be an element. I hope that have answered your questions. And the other element is what methodologies? Oh, well, I feel like we have a whole series of methodologies. We have a whole module to define what methodologies are for us. And I'm not going to share it right now because we're going to have a specific subject where we're going to talk about methodologies, and we're going to be able to share from what I have worked. I've had the opportunity to do studies. My thesis of the first master's was questions, because they would say, first they asked me authors. And I didn't say any author more than the people, the grandfathers and the grandmothers, the people that were in the internal armed conflict, because my thesis was the relationships of gender and the relations of interhemic relations between militants of the armed conflict of Guatemala in the specific territory of the Che. I just wanted to leave an evidence that if those that were that were looking for change and revolution and a social and financial justice were recognizing the existence of women and of originary peoples, and how, if it was relationships that were complementary, that were equal relationships, or were they relationships of domination. But anyways, I'm just sharing this because what the methodology that I use and other studies, one of the last ones in the Tutuhil people, which is one of the Mayan peoples of Guatemala that live around the lake. What I did was accompany the shaman, the women shamans, and the women doulas, so that I could follow them and see the temescal baths, the councils. We united with dance, with painting, and there we generated murals where they told the story of the Tutuhil peoples from the vision of women, from grandparents, from youth. The bishop from the grandparents is the advice. We were together around a fire, and I don't detail that because of right now, but I know it's not the same right now. I know you've walked many paths, but that we have our own way, yes. And that our challenge, or maybe no, not the challenge. That word isn't correct, because you start off worried and tired. But the strength instead, the light of our research is creation. It's our feeling thinking. Let's wake up strength. And those who speak originary languages have a fundamental tool. Feel, think from your language. And when you write from there. And even better, in the text of the research, you would have the testimonies in your own language with a translation. Why? Because the study is a research that FIMI wants to contribute to create. As we said, the voice expression of the feeling and the thinking of the originary peoples and women. And we have the opportunity, and it's not about listing testimonies, but with that, we have a process of statements as researchers, as Indigenous researchers, from our conceptions, our philosophies, and our cosmovisions. That's the big challenge. I remember when the director of FIMI said, we don't want to have a bunch of authors cited, and that researchers have a lot of cites from different authors and people who are dead. We want data, the reality, the look, the feeling, the thinking of those peoples, of those communities, of those actors, of those women. Oh, that's empirical, the academics are going to say, because you didn't cite an author. We are in the process of decolonization. That doesn't mean we negate. We see an author, a woman or a man that has moved forward in the subject of virgin peoples and they can provide nurture, and we can use that information. We can do a dialogue. And we're going to have those criteria to include in our research. I don't know if I answered. Thank you for your questions. Okay, we're at 9:16. I would like to think if it's possible, we take 5 minutes. We have very little time. We want to present. We want to hear the group of Asia present and to finish the subject of today. So is that possible? Just 5 minutes only, please? Is that okay? Okay, we're going to take those 5 minutes then, and we'll be back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, we're back. We are done with the 5 minutes. Is everybody back? You guys ready?
Yes.
Yes. Awesome. Are we ready? Is Asia ready? Welcome back. We're going to continue. We're going to ask Asia team to let us know your sociodrama so that we can share with us. You can share with us how you perceive intercultural research, and the exercise in a creative way presents your ideas. So you're welcome. I don't know who's going to be in charge of presenting from Asia, on behalf of the Asia team. Who's going to be in charge of that? Asia?
Yes, teacher.
Who's this? I'm sorry.
I was just scream.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Who's speaking? Mimint, is that you?
Yes, yeah.
Gracias a ustedes por su aporte.
Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for your presentation. Okay, so are we ready to get started? Mimi, are you ready to get started?
Yes, teacher.
Okay, let's go. Go ahead, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. On behalf of our group, I would like to start first. So we would like to start with our sociodrama. So first, please listen. So we have in here we have two roles: the researchers and the farmer. We have a conversations. I'm sorry. Do we have sounds like hello, my friends?
Yeah,
Hello.
I'm here.
Yes.
Yeah.
In
Shall we
here
start?
we have sounds for the staff in here. Okay.
Yeah. Can we proceed with them?
Okay, so
I'm sorry, Mimi, what do you need? Okay, there we go.
there we go. So
Go ahead.
Yes. So
Muchas gracias. I hope you don't mind. May I have some questions for a research on women and your community? Yes.
yeah.
So you were the one who came requesting community consent. Yes, I am. I am grateful the community allowed me to do this. I am here to listen and to be of help. How are you feeling today? I am worried, sad, and angry. What makes you feel that way? My child is sick. We had very poor corn harvest last year because of the storm. But I do not like to sell our heritage land to those rich guys who came with the bulldozers and the military. Next slide, please. A very difficult situation indeed. So what are they planning to do? They want to build an airport on our farms for use of the gold mining company. I see. That could be very challenging on you and your family, the whole community as well. What do you plan to do? Next slide. I don't know. My wife is at the women's meeting. We set up a community barricade, but they do not listen to us. We need to reflect on our next steps. You can join us in the meetings tonight. Is it all right for me to be there? Yes. You can help us let others know about our situation here. Next, please.
I didn't hear the sounds.
Next. Next, please. Rise. Rise. Dance. Dance. Remembering. Uniting with the spirit of the ancestors. Dancing in oneness. With the mountains. The rivers, the sun, the trees, the wind. Dance and rise in oneness.
Yeah. This is our sociodrama part. So now we would like to present next step.
I'm sorry, you would like to present the next part or your consideration? Sorry, thank you.
So I would like to present this part. This is our group understanding what the intercultural research is. The research that consider multiple perspectives from diverse cultures, including indigenous culture. And next is it they articulate primarily with their perspective and purpose of the culture owner barrier. And next, we also understand that is it the study of cultural differences and similarity of the people around the world, which focus on bridging the gaps among the community and assist the peoples and provide necessary service or help. Yes, we believe this is the study of the differences and the similarity of people around the world concerning to your culture, thinking, feeling, and yeah. And we also believe it is about studying how people from different cultures interact and how their culture shape their behaviors and beliefs. This is what intercultural research is for us, for our group, based on our understanding. So to summarize, so it is having the knowledge of different cultures and understanding of different behaviors, manners, and ways of communication with the representative of other culture, understanding, sympathy, tolerance, and interest in connecting with people, in communicating with different people. We understand like intercultural research is something like we try to understand the differences culture, try to understand the different behaviors they are, and the way we communicate each other, yeah, with their sympathy or tolerance. Yep. So to sum up, would you like to continue, Dawn?
The characteristics of intercultural research includes understanding cultural diversity, using different research methods like interviews, conversations, focus groups, storytelling, ceremony, nurturing relations, immersions, and the like. Also, promoting cultural understanding and cooperation. Holistic, which involves considering not only parts and fragments, but the totality plurality of views, knowledge, practices, relationships during listening. It's also complementary. It focuses on reaching and building upon the knowledge of others rather than competing and putting down other works. It's multidisciplinary. I think that's it. Yeah. Thank you.
Muchas gracias al grupo.
Thank you to the group of Asia. Really, your proposal, like the others, has been great. I applaud the last three groups. You and the last three groups with your presentation. We thank Asia for your presentation. First of all, because you present a proposal that's very contextualized. And I would like to, before we continue, two opinions, one from Africa and one from the sisters of Abjayala. If you can share what you think, what you are left with in this presentation that Asia was doing in relation to the characteristics of the intercultural research. You have the floor, and if we don't have anything else, we can go ahead and take the presentation off. And we're going to listen. What's your opinion? Somebody from Abya
Hi everyone, I'm Esther.
Jesse from Africa?
Esther. Esther.
Go ahead, perfect.
Bravo our Asian colleagues, our Asian sisters. It's so impressive to see the similarities in the Asian culture and the African culture. Just like our teacher here, she loved stories from her grandmother. And the session we had with Angela before we started this session, I remember mentioning that storytelling was something that had an impact in my life, because I still remember the stories my grandmother told me, stories of brave Maasai women, stories of brave warriors, of Maasai warriors that defended the land or defended the animals against animals, you know. So it's so good to see those kind of things, songs, dance, storytelling coming up. There are things of old, but they are coming up now that we need them. We need our grandmothers. We need their wisdom. We need their insight. I wish we can borrow their eyes so that we can see things through their eyes and have the understanding they have. It is so warming to go back to where we came from. This wisdom, this knowledge is what has made us strong women, resilient women that we are today. Thank you. Congratulations.
Gracias a Esther.
Thank you, Esther. I'm sorry. Yes, it's your turn. Well, I want to thank the partners from Asia for your work. Thank you for what you shared. And yes, it's very impressive to see, even in different parts of the world, we share common technology, common methodologies, and we're all hoping to see from the collectiveness that we continue to organize ourselves to fight and defend our territories and defend our water. And the other side is, I'm thinking about what you presented in your play, in your role play. You give us another step into some of the interviews and the groups. That makes me remember that these are tools that are very important. And like we mentioned before, it's important to have that critical thinking in this type of situation. And these tools, the interview and the groups and the focus groups, have a historical tradition that has to do with its market studies to get out the products that companies do it to do testing. But it's also important to mention and reflect and see them from these other perspectives. Pablo Freire mentioned in his educational work, he used a lot these focus groups and then feminist groups also use these instruments. So this is important to know that these tools are there and they have a history for this type of studies that we've seen, and they're very valuable. And it's important to keep them in mind. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you for the team of Asia. I think that it's also important to stare for your groups. The time is already taken on us, but I feel that the three groups have made a very good job from their own context, from their territories, from their cosmovisions. And if something, like the issue is, it hasn't been globalized, how we globalize the exploitation of land, of the looting of the territories, which is present in our territories. You mentioned there are three exercises. They also evidence the capacity that we have and the strength of organizing, the unity of articulating the towns based on the past, based on your history, based on your conditions, on the collective work, on the fire, on the advice from our elders. And that's how we see the important role that they play in what they're guiding, in that dialogue that we're having. I saw the images and the images talk way more than words. So thank you for presenting that for the groups. The idea is how we do this intercultural research allows us to centralize and puts us in our reality, in our context, from a scope, a historic scope. So we got to take that into account. And we'll do a small approximation on what is intercultural research. So our first one is that it's a political action, which is fundamental to keep in mind. That is for transformation, for the getting rid of the colonization mentality. To go from that historic oppression, from all that pain that we have in our systems, personal, as a community, as towns. So that collective action is not from one person. It's not from the research, not from the expert. It's for the guardian. It's for the ones who know because of knowledge. That the Asian example. It's not about imposing. He's not asking. He's talking about the issues. What he wants to tell them is inform them about the process. So this is a political action that contributes to recovery. We got to recover. We got to awaken. We got to get rid of that information. To rebuild, to do the strengthen, to revalue our territories, our goods, and our cosmovisions and cosmofeelings, which are live and existing for both women and men and generations. And that's part of this exercise, intercultural research. Another element is it is a meeting of the feelings, of cosmofeelings, of common knowledge. From where? From the voices and scopes. And that's what we're saying. It's a place. It's from a context of reality. That is not based on the moment, but on the different moments on the past. Look at the past to see how we can change the future. And that's how we do the cosmic freedom, the cosmic knowledge, looking at the different views, points of views, where we have different perspectives and positionings that have different points of views, that we offer the research for that. From where? From ourselves, from the cosmovision, from our own systems, from the context that we live in, and the conditions of women for the different generations. So is that meeting where we don't have predominant, and there's only one knowledge, just with that, one voice. That's a part that's taking us a lot of time to put together. So we're talking about one generation, 2 generations, 3 generations that might be lost when you're putting aside one part. So we're trying to talk to the living person, to the living experience. And they lived in the context of oppression within that system that is neoliberal, that was there, that is existing there. In our tables, in what we eat, and what we bring to our tables, in the way we live, and the way we do the research. So it's not from a point of view, so acknowledging that we have different points of knowledge. What does this provide? So we have science, knowledge, experience, and proposals for the cosmic knowledge and dialogues of intergenerational knowledge. Where in a circle we have the children listening to the elder, to the adults, to the youth, where we have the youth and we have the elder, and also listening to the youth. And that is that international intergenerational dialogue is important, where we learn, where we contribute, where we express all of we have. Then also from the knowledge and the cosmic feeling for the care and defense of the network of life. So the research is going to help us, it's going to contribute to strengthen our practices, for collective practices, individual practices as women for the defense and backup of their knowledge. The water, the wind, the human rights, everything all together. And also to the feeling and thinking and cosmic knowledge for the transformation and to see that is destroying life. So research is coming to provide new knowledge, own methodologies, new proposals to transform the realities that we have, that we are living in different contexts, based on the issues that we're looking at. So if the problem is violence, sexual violence, for example, then the research should provide, from our cosmovisions and cosmic feelings, actions proposed to get rid of that, to get rid of that patriarchy and that violence that is internalized. It could be generational violence or within the families, or it could be through external actors. I'm thinking about the groups that we have a company that came in. It could be the workers in that company, the army, the security instruments, the external people that come. So that's where the research comes to tell us, to generate proposals and the feeling and thinking of our living. They're trying to defend our collective rights. From that point of view, we want to be able to defend and back up. So we're looking at the being and the feeling and thinking and the cosmic feeling and experiences and the multiple scopes and perspectives of life and the cosmovision of people, of women, men, generations, and original towns. That's what we're saying. Where we're backing up. We're trying to save all of this that is written. What are the colors? What does this mean? Looking at that image, what does that image look for? What does it interpret? Why is it there? What are we stating? How do you do this? Trying to find that representation and trying to save that knowledge. And the relation that the people have, These are the most important thing. How they're feeling, what they're thinking, what they've lived, what they know, what they did, what they do. All of that is way more important than the theories that are generated and the monopoly of the knowledge of power, androcentric and anthropocentric, meaning that our studies, we don't really care about these generated theories from that one knowledge, from that one point of view, from the epistemology of we care about the people. We're trying to recover this, and we're trying to state this from that cosmovision and their cosmo knowledge. Another element that is important to mention with the intercultural research is that a political exercise that is used for healing. How? How do we go over this part of the resilience of towns? How can this help me heal? How do I understand all the violence that is accumulated and recover different ways of healing and start healing? How do I learn how this intercultural research allows me to get rid of that colonization, get rid of that patriarchy, get rid of that market, of that knowledge? And that's a key element that we have to take into account, because we're going to do our studies from that scope, from the feeling, the cosmo feeling, cosmo thinking, as people that come, of women that come from marginal towns, getting rid of the patriarchy and thinking as a person with equality and recovering the water, the land, that they're not merchandise. They are a source of life. It's going to help us of the being, the knowing, and the power of the collective, and as a person, as a collective, as a town, as a humanity. And also to create community and participation, collective participation from the realities of the localities, national and global. It's not a study from the researcher. It's a process that is collective, from the community, from a territory where something is located, with the participation of different generations, and based on that reality, local reality, and how that local reality is based on the national reality, and how is that issue same in Abidjala with Asia and Africa, and the capacity for resilience, of the strength, of resistance, of the different systems of life. How are they alive? From the local, from the national, and the global. And the other thing is that it was trying to get over the hegemony of knowledge, which is Eurocentric and North-centric. Our research is going to come in and get rid of those theories that what they've done of imposing one way of thinking, one whole criteria, one truth. We're going to base on recovering it, our own knowledges, and we're not going to waste our times. We're going to be able to build and show and evidence that we have sciences and we have our own knowledge. And that's why important to research is a political tool for this power of relationship and heal. Why? Because it will allow us to understand the science of health, because they call the science of the health, and the empirism. And when they do this, there is still a science. Their systems are science. That we have a science in our systems. They have a statement. They have principles. They have organization. We have our own experts, people who know. They have systems of medicines, of medicinal plants. We also have the plants, but we're also based on water, on the relationship with the fire, with the wind, with the land. So how do we show this? Through our research, based on the topic that we're going to be presenting. So we're looking at that analysis. And when I find, through my research and with the collective with the community, with the women, and the different generations, what experience do we have in this world of the gastronomy, of agriculture, of creating ways of applying different economies, our own economies. We're healing, and we're trying to recover our own strength, our own cosmos knowledge, our systems, and we're living a time that we're not wild people, that we are here, that we belong, that even if that thought of that we're third world people, that we're below, and we're going to acknowledge this, our knowledge that we have our rights and that we have strength as a community, and we can get ahead. And that's why it's important to have this research to allow us to have that healing, and it's collective healing that we're talking about. Also, of building that thinking, that homogenic knowledge, that trying to see the way we look at the world, that is not allowing us to find solutions to issues, because through our research, we're going to be able to see different alternatives and solutions not from outside side that create dependence. We're going to create alternatives and proposals from our own strength, from our own knowledge and our own systems of life. And if we need the outside to support ourselves, that's fine. But we need to identify from our own roots, in our personal part, in the collective part, and acknowledging that the Eurocentric investigation and North-centric research will reduce our approach to a one cultural perspective, which is dominating, invisibilizing our knowledges. So we're going to use other knowledge, other sciences, other reports, other scopes of knowledge, and propose a collective proposal. We're going to recover, visibilize, and position the scope of women, indigenous women, in the analysis of reality from their own voices. You're the ones going to be looking at this. People from the original towns, from Africa, Asia, from your languages, from your perspectives and context, from your own realities and your own points of view, you're going to write and visualize,
recuperando y retomando esos saberes colectivos.
Recovering those knowledges, looking at not only at Esther or Fatima or Vivian or the rest of our peers. I'm trying to forget all the names right now. But this is a collective work, because behind that statement that you're putting, we have the wisdom. After that approach, we're looking at the towns, and we're trying to see to a different place, acknowledging that subjectivity is present, and makes this a valuable element for the building of knowledge to change paradigms of realities. We're trying to create that knowledge to change paradigms, and it's sustained in that dialogue, a horizontal dialogue, circular dialogue, intergenerational communication between cosmos feelings and cosmos thinkings and knowledges. The intercultural will also have characteristics, and one of this is, and I know that time, let me see how much time we have left. One of the characteristics that we have is a collective good. First and foremost, it's not an individual good. It's an exercise of production of collective knowledge. It's a collective political exercise and allows us to need and build collectively the cosmos knowledge and collective writings, systems of life. Without collective work, it acknowledges the cosmovisions and the knowledges and sciences of the towns as source of knowledges, not communities of analysis or search of points of research. And it builds this knowledge from the context, realities, rhythms, and perspectives that are owned and collective of the town. So trying the theory and conceptualization of the different points of cosmovisions. From our own knowledges, our own sciences, it generates capacities, critical analysis for different proposals, allowing this for different concepts that allow to have built from a cultural perspective, of the town, meaning that it will generate, and we have to be critical to that analysis on that systems, then we got to look into that part as well. We have the patriarchy, we have the church, we got to question that, and we have proposals on that. And this intercultural recovery will also generate different spaces from the schools and universities. So we're trying to tell us is, it's not that science is only based on this university or in those four walls where we have one type of knowledge. Not in that school where the children sometimes just get there and just come back harmonized with just one look. The homogeneity of knowledge, a school of life, spaces of knowledge, a collective knowledge are there. They are in the territories, in the communities, and they're sustained by the point of views in the feelings and knowledges and thinking collectively of those who are subject of the investigation, not objects, or those who are building that collective knowledge. It will recognize and promote that alternatives of production of knowledge on the different academic research generated in universities and investigation research. There are many ways that we can do this, of writing and defining different statements and categories and approaches and proposals from their own territories, from the realities and contexts that women live in the original town. And it's based on the dialogue and ecology of sentai thinking and feeling and thinking on the cosmic feelings, which are complementary, meaning that they're helping to getting rid of that colonization. So we can promote some theories. We can use some theories to sustain ourselves. And from other towns that are doing some type of statement that are decolonizing as well, that are respecting the existence of the towns, but not as exotic, not as subjects for political party. And that's key. We can cite other people, and based on how they're responding and how they're in symphony with us, and the type of research that we're trying to do with that intercultural research. And like Samai was saying, it with coherence in their practice. It's healing, it's generating, and transformative. But let that process be when the communities are recognizing and they're trying to acknowledge their strength. When I start listening to these people talk about the elder, where they talk about they come here and they recover when the pandemic was here. And we used all of these plans and we try to eliminate and alienate it. Instead of feeling victims, we were awoken. So I feel that it's important that we keep that in mind. And because time is up, I want to stop right now. Thank you, Durin. We have one more assignment for this. Please go over them in the blocks. We're going to stop right now with the collective, what they did as a team. There is an assignment that is individual that will take us to our studies to make changes, to see from what a scope and approach we're going to be working, and how we're going to be stating our research. What characteristics does it have? I invite you to please, to those who already done it, great. For those who are still haven't done it, please, by the next meeting, it's on the 8th, I think, March 8th. And I'll be still in the other, I want to thank you, and I want to thank you, have a rest, and happy afternoon, happy day, happy night. And please, the individual assignments, look at them, that you need to work them, because they are part of the refining our other science and our own research processes. Thank you to all of you. I don't know, Durin, if you have something else to add to it? They are taken into account, please, that on Tuesday, Teacher Carolina, we'll leave an assignment. So please go look at that so you can do it and prepare it and have it ready for the session on Tuesday, please. Thank you very much. Take care. Good afternoon, good night, good morning. Take care. Embraces to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gracias a ustedes.
Thank you to all of you.
Excuse me, teacher, may I have a question?